Very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second day of the Africa CEO Forum. I'm delighted to be with you. My name is Eleni Jokos. I'm with CNN covering business stories across the continent and the world. Today, our topic is going to be about building African champions. It's about fostering growth within corporations so that they can enter the top 500 companies in the world. And when we look at some of the data behind why a lot of African corporations that perhaps have a massive footprint on the continent aren't able to get that accolade, it's quite interesting because it's about revenue, it's about turnover, it's about profitability as well. So it begs the question, is it about demand on the ground not being sufficient? Is it about the lack of capital? These are some of the questions that we're going to be asking to our panel of experts today. We also know that the top 700 companies on the continent, only half of them are from the private sector. Now, we fall behind other emerging markets because we start to see a lot of other emerging market companies getting into the top 500 global companies as well, but Africa's falling behind. So we are hopefully going to try and find some solutions to this very interesting question. And of course, today we're going to start off with our experts, putting things into context for us and perhaps giving us a little bit of data behind it all. We've got Bryan Leith from KPMG. He's the CEO of KPMG Global African Practice in South Africa, and I'll introduce my guests after his presentation. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Leni, and good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to introduce this topic, and I'm delighted that I have a panel of experts, even more expert than I'm supposed to be, who will be able to debate the subject. So every year, we examine the listing of the global top 500 companies in the world, and every year we see no African companies on the list. Why is that? Does it matter? And what does it take to get onto that list? Africa is not just a collection of new consumer markets or a source of cheap and increasingly skilled labor. Through innovation and entrepreneurial spirit, Africa is creating thousands of new companies that are quickly reaching significant scale and changing the competitive business landscape and dynamics around the world. The fundamental point, in my opinion, is that large companies matter. Not only for their ability to create jobs and to generate higher incomes, but also because they are catalysts for improved governance, higher productivity, innovation, standard setting, and the development of skills and technology. But let us remind ourselves why Africa matters. I can think of no better map to illustrate just how large Africa is. If we compare the geographic size to the countries indicated there, the total land mass of Africa is bigger than all of those put together. 60% of the world's arable land and much of its mineral resources reside in Africa. And that arable land is uncultivated arable land. So it really is the breadbasket of the world. If we look at the population growth statistics, from 1 to 1.1 billion people at the moment, growing to 1.5 billion. We've all seen those numbers before, but think about it. I'm an accountant, so I do the maths. That is a net growth in the African population of 500,000 people per week up until 2030. 500,000 people more on Africa per week. So the rising middle class and increasing disposable income accelerates opportunity in Africa. And we all know that the leapfrogging technology in the telecoms, in the banking, and in power are going to mean we have exponential growth at a rate that we've never seen before in the world. Global GDP projections for 2017 show that the top 10 GDP growth countries in the world comprise only emerging markets. 5 in Africa, and 5 in Asia. In total, growth in Africa is expected to exceed global growth by some 25% in 2017. Yet the economic activity in Africa is focused only in a few countries: Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, and Algeria. Even Kenya has economic activity only 20% of the size of Nigeria's. So let's look at the numbers. Clearly there are more than one list of who's the biggest company in the world, and this is the Fortune 500 list, which is based on turnover. Clearly market capitalization, profitability, number of employees, etc. are factors as well, but this is generally regarded as the list that everyone looks at. If we look at the top of the list, Walmart, the largest company in the world by turnover, a turnover of $482 billion. But that number drops very quickly, and I've shown you there position number 100, 200, 300, and 400. And by the time we get to 400, we're at 26 billion. If we look at the bottom of the table of the top 500, you'll see that the average is around $21 billion in turnover. Interestingly, you will see there Old Mutual. Now, Old Mutual is primarily an African company, a South African, Cape Town-based and Johannesburg-based insurance giant. But one of the subjects I'm sure we'll touch on today will be why Old Mutual is now shown as being in Britain, because it's listed on the London Stock Exchange and no longer in South Africa, or dual listing. If we turn to Africa, this is the Africa Report Top 500 African Companies that has just been published. Now, interestingly, you'll see that Sonatrach is shown there at a turnover of 62 billion, which would squarely place it in between position 100 and 200 in the Fortune 500. But it's interesting to note that the editor of the list indicated that they were not included in the top 500 because their financial statements had not been audited or filed, and also the statement said they were only available in French. So clearly they would be a player on the big screen as well. Interestingly, you'll see there that 8 of the top 10 companies in Africa are in South Africa. But if we look at the largest companies in a number of other African countries, we'll see how they square up. Clearly a long way off Walmart, clearly a long way off the 26 billion that is the bottom of the top 500. So the biggest companies in Africa are about 15 to 30% smaller than the bottom of the top 500 table. And I'll let you, I can see you all taking photos of the slides, so I'll let you just dwell on that slide because it really paints a very interesting picture. As I said, large companies do matter and they make a difference. I define a large company as anything over $1 billion in turnover, and they have a significant impact on their home economies through their role in trade flows. For instance, in the United States of America, up to half of the GDP volatility is determined by only 100 companies in the US. In smaller economies, one single large player in a country can determine the growth in that country all on its own. At present, 75% of today's large companies are based in developed economies. But the graph shows This is expected to change by 2025. Developed countries' companies will decline to under 55%. China is expected to comprise of 25%, the rest of Asia 10%, Latin America 7%, and Africa and the Middle East 5% of the largest companies. Over 7,000 new large companies are expected to be developed by 2025, and 7 out of 10 of them are expected to come from developing countries. I wonder, when we are sitting here in 2025 at the 13th edition of the Africa CEO Forum, how many of them will be from Africa. So the rapidly rising number of large companies is welcome news for both nations and cities. And it represents an especially important opportunity for emerging regions seeking to reach the next level of economic development and prosperity. Yet not all countries will emerge as winners. What is clear is that the broadening base of countries from the emerging world will continue to integrate into global markets, and the competition amongst cities for both headquarters and subsidiaries will intensify. Having large companies is more a country issue than it is a company issue. Getting to the top 500 is clearly something that companies and nations should strive for. The roadmap there is simple, but it is the execution that will be a challenge, and not without stiff competition from other developing nations. So in my view, what do companies need to do to break into the ranks of the real big global players? Ease of doing business has to be at the top of the list. Every company has a choice as to where they are domiciled, and they will always choose the path of least resistance as to where they domicile themselves. GDP growth, or the size of local markets, is by far the most significant determinant of a company's presence. Business can only prosper in an environment of certainty. It doesn't matter what the rules are as long as they remain constant, and the political situation as well. African companies need to diversify and move more into manufacturing and services rather than only focusing on mining and agriculture. Only 38% of the GDP is generated by services in countries with a per capita GDP of less than $5,000. But in countries where GDP per capita is greater than $40,000, the percentage rises to 59%. As incomes rise, the lion's share of new companies formed will be in the services industry. African companies need to look not only at inter-Africa trade, but need to be global players. We need to break down the barriers in regions. We cannot create a globally competitive company in a small country only. We need to be able to trade across borders and sell our goods and services. And we need no sellouts. We should stand our ground and avoid being taken over by multinationals. We need more and better stock exchanges so that our shares can be traded and kept onshore rather than seeking overseas listings. And lastly, there are a number of non-revenue factors. So for instance, exchange rate volatility, liquidity needs to be certain. We need to maintain good accounting, auditing, governance standards in country. And human capital remains paramount. The ability to attract and retain talent in Africa is critical, and again is more a city or a country issue than it is a company issue. Talent will live where they feel comfortable and safe, and countries and cities need to ensure that that is in place.
Fantastic, Bryan. Thank you so very much.